Welcome to the virtual workshop for the Unified Planning Work Program, otherwise known as the UPWP. My name is Jody Bennix. I work at the Genesee Transportation Council and I manage the UPWP. This presentation will provide applicants an overview of the UPWP application process. All things UPWP can be found at publicinput.com/GTC-UPWP. The call for project partnerships document and the application are both available for download on this page. So the Genesee Transportation Council, otherwise known as GTC, is the Metropolitan Planning Organization, or the MPO, for the 9-county Genesee Finger Lakes region. Every metropolitan area with a population of 50,000 or greater has a designated MPO. GTC, as the MPO, is responsible for federally funded transportation policy, planning, and investment decision-making as it pertains to the surface transportation system. GTC itself is a policy board made up of elected representatives from local, state, and federal governments, along with transportation agencies. GTC, as the MPO, is responsible for three major work products: the Long Range Transportation Plan, or LRTP, the Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP, and the Transportation Improvement Program, otherwise known as the TIP. The LRTP sets the strategic direction for all GTC's actions and programs, and it's updated every 5 years. The policies in the LRTP are further refined in the UPWP through individual planning studies, such as a parking or connectivity study. GTC updates the UPWP every year. Finally, the TIP is the capital program that funds improvements to the transportation infrastructure, such as a road resurfacing project or bridge reconstruction. Personally, I like to think that the LRTP is the umbrella that covers the entire organization. Everything that GTC does has to follow the framework set forth in the LRTP. This is also true of all UPWP activities. So all proposed projects must support the Long Range Transportation Plan, and we'll discuss this further as we get into the application. There are specific questions on the application that deal with the Long Range Plan. The question I often get asked about the UPWP is what types of projects are eligible to be funded through this process. This slide just gives you a brief overview of three main types of projects that are eligible: infrastructure projects that deal with trail management, the bicycle and pedestrian system, street connectivity, access management. We can also fund money for services and programs through public transportation. Additionally, we do transportation and land use coordination through a lot of neighborhood studies and downtown plans and corridor plans. If you go to the call for public partnerships document, there is a complete list in that document that really details the eligible activities. New for this year in the UPWP, the connection between housing and the surface transportation system is also eligible for federal funding. Regarding eligible study areas and applicants, the federal transportation planning funding that we make available through the UPWP is meant to support transportation planning activities in the 9-county Genesee Finger Lakes region. So regarding study areas, we've funded regional projects which cover all 9 counties, multiple municipalities. Sometimes 2 towns will come in together on a corridor study. We've done municipality-wide projects at the town, village, city, and county level. We've looked at corridors that traverse multiple municipalities, as I mentioned before, and we've also done neighborhood and district and downtown studies. So regarding the applicants themselves, any city, town, or village in the region, so any municipality is eligible to apply, along with GTC member agencies. If you are a non-for-profit or a private entity, you can apply for the funding, but you have to be sponsored by a municipality or a GTC member agency. If you have questions about this, please reach out directly. I can answer detailed questions about that requirement as well. Regarding the project proposal requirements, we have the following requirements for everybody who applies for funding. So we require a 10% contribution to the total budget. We require 10%, but we always encourage everybody to put more than 10% if they have it available. This can be cash. Any cash contributions will be used to pay your project consultant that will help you complete your study, in kind or a combination. If you're only proposing cash, I do encourage you to put in kind down as well. It is likely you will be doing some type of work to contribute to the completion of your study. All projects are expected to be completed within 2 years of commencement, And GTC does reserve the right to withdraw the funding if sufficient progress is not being made. We also require public engagement opportunities for all projects that recommend direct or indirect impacts on the public realm. The only projects that do not have a public engagement requirement are strictly data projects or projects that are extremely technical in nature. Otherwise, we require one round of public involvement at the beginning of the project to inform the locals about the project idea and to gather input on issues and opportunities. And we require another round of public engagement at the end to review the recommendations that the project is resulting in. These application requirements were new as of last year, but I'm just going to briefly touch on them again. So it is required that you notify the facility owner or operator that you are applying for a project on their facility. For example, if you are a village and NYSDOT owns your Main Street and you want to look at the Main Street corridor, it is your job to notify NYSDOT ahead of applying that you plan on applying for funding to study their facility. It is optional to provide visual documentation. We've been receiving photos or infographics to kind of give the review team some context about what's going on with your project. Sometimes a picture speaks 1,000 words, so you're more than welcome to provide visual documentation, but that is not required. So again, this was an updated question that we did for the last cycle, but those who haven't applied in a few years will find it new. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, everything that GTC does really has to follow our long-range transportation plan, the policies, goals, and recommendations that that plan outlines. So this question really gets at how your UPWP proposal supports the long-range transportation plan and the recommendations set forth. There is a complete listing of all of the long-range transportation plan recommendations in the back of the call for project partnerships document. That's available again on the publicinput.com site. If you have any questions about this, specific question, how your project relates to the long-range plan, please feel free to let me know. You're not going to be getting extra points for listing the most recommendations. It's more of a thought exercise and making sure that what you want to do really supports where we want the region to be headed overall. So the initial review of proposals is conducted by the UPWP Development Committee, which consists of representatives from the Rochester Metropolitan Planning Area counties, which are Livingston, Monroe, Ontario, and Wayne, the City of Rochester, New York State Department of Transportation, the Rochester Genesee Regional Transportation Authority, and the Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council. Projects are selected on a competitive basis and they're scored along a 100-point scale. The scoring provides a starting point and is not the sole factor used to select projects. Often the technical data collection projects will just naturally score lower, but again, the scoring is a starting point, not the end-all be-all. If your proposal is debt funded, then GTC staff will reach out and provide an explanation and offer technical assistance to meet with you on how your application can be improved for a future UPWP cycle. On to the most important slide, the schedule. The call for project partnerships came out on September 8th. This application workshop video is up on the website. We do have two Tuesdays blocked off to meet with potential applicants. If these times, September 19th and September 26th, do not work for you, please reach out to me. I'm happy to schedule a time that works for you. Proposals are due electronically by October 13th. It's Friday at 4 p.m. Please email them to me. I will email you back and let you know I got your proposal. So if you do not hear from me and you think you sent it in, please let me know. The review of proposals will then take place over November and December. We'll approve a draft in January. There's going to be a public review period after that as well from January and February. Then we'll review any public comments we got and recommend that the final UPWP is adopted to our board. They will adopt it on February 29th, and the new UPWP begins April 1st, 2024. So if you apply in the fall, the funding for your project, if you're successful, becomes available April in the spring, and at that point you could get started. So these are just a few more important considerations to go over as you consider applying, or if you are successful in getting a project. GTC will hold a contract for non-member agencies. That means if you're agency does not have a seat at the GTC Planning Committee or Board, GTC will hold your contract for you. This means we will administer everything on your behalf. The cash match payment terms must be agreed upon ahead of time. Quarterly reports noting your in-kind commitment must also be submitted. These are required for GTC as a federally funded agency. They must be completed even if there's no financial activity in a quarter. Continuing on with the important considerations, if you do receive funding, GTC will reach out and assign a GTC program manager to assist you through this process. The first step will be to work with your staff liaison to help you develop your project scope of work. This is approved by our GTC Planning Committee. The next step is to go out for professional services. So your staff liaison, again, will work with you to complete a request for proposal or qualifications. We will advertise this for you on your behalf. We use a qualification-based procurement process. This helps ensure that all federal guidelines regarding the use of this funding will be met. The project budgets are still clearly stated in the UPWP, in the scope of work, and the RFP/RFQ. Therefore, our pricing is not a factor during the consultant selection process. Additionally, we require that all projects have an executive summary that can be presented to our board. The GTC board adopts the executive summaries as evidence of completion of the project. Your municipality is welcome to formally accept a plan or study through your town or village board process, but that is not required by GTC. I hope this applicant workshop video was helpful. I hope it answered some questions, maybe raised additional questions. If it has raised more questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I strongly encourage everybody who is applying to please at least send me an email with your project idea or touch base with me. Oftentimes I can really be a resource, and when applying for this funding, you know, GTC is very open about our process with this. I always tell people it's not a application that goes into a black box that, you know, you never hear about it again. We're very open. We want people to be successful. We want to get good projects for our region. So please reach out to us. We're more than happy to talk to you. Again, all information that you need will be on the publicinput.com/GTC UPWP page. You'll find the application, the call for project partnerships, which really details everything that I went over further today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. My email is jbennix, it's B as in boy, INNIX @gtcmpo.com. And thank you for your time.